On the agenda for tonight's live analysis, we're going back to 1973. We're going to be taking a look at the Eagles, and they're going to be performing Peaceful Easy Feeling. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to this live analysis tonight. Thank you guys for joining me in the live chat room. Hopefully this is going to be okay, because I did mention on last night's live stream about the copyrights and everything. It's one of those songs that wasn't written by Don Henley, so this is why I am hopeful, and it was Jack Tempchin who actually wrote this. So fingers crossed we will be okay, but let's get the Eagles up on screen and we'll see how they get on. As always, I'm going to be jumping in about halfway through, and there's going to be a link to this original performance video in the description below, so you guys can click on that to watch it the whole way through without me interrupting it. But let's get into it.
Sparkling earrings lay against your skin so brown, and I want to sleep with you in the desert tonight, with a billion stars all around. 'Cause I got a peaceful, easy feeling, and I know you won't let me down, 'cause I'm already standing on the ground. And I found out a long time ago what a woman can do to your soul. Oh, but she can't take you anyway. You don't already know how to go. And I got a peaceful, easy feeling, and I know you won't let me down. I'm already standing on the ground. Oh my, yeah.
I'm just going to jump in here before we get into the lead guitar solo, because this is one of those songs that is exactly what it sounds like in the title, the way that it's being delivered, because the peaceful, easy feeling is really what you get from this performance live as well. The fact that these guys produce it so accurately, and it's such a true representation of the record, but in a live setting. It is all about the blending of the vocals, the vocal ranges as well, which we will get into. Also, the B bender on the guitar, and this is something that I am going to explain. We'll probably get into the guitar, the lead guitar, at the end of the video, but it's something that is essential to Bernie's sound here. Bernie led him, by the way, on lead guitar, and having that B bender in there gives it that country twang. But we'll get into that at the end of the video. To kick it off, I'm going to show you just the chords really quickly on the guitar in case you have got your guitars out, but it's really straightforward from a chord perspective. And then we're going to be looking at the vocals and the ranges and why it sounds so cool when these three guys are harmonizing with each other. But first of all, we're just going to be in standard tuning here. We've got our E, and then jumping over to an A, and then we're jumping over to the B7th, which you'll see That little finger just being put in a little bit later on by Glenn, so he gets most of his chord in position, and then the little finger just drops in a little bit later. And Glenn Frey, by the way, on guitar, rhythm guitar here on the acoustic. And that's going to be it for your verses. And what I would say is that if you are changing chord, let me just make sure that we can see the left hand, because when we're changing chord, you don't really want to be throwing in the upstroke because you don't hear it. Actually, the acoustic guitar is really low in the mix here, but you don't want to be hearing like that. You want to leave that upstroke out in terms of hitting the strings, but you still want to keep that right hand going. So we have like that. And if you want to, you can even throw in a little sus2 on the A, which is taking off your third finger, which you get that B string to ring out, which is just a nice sound and a little bit of a change from the A. It might be nice to throw that in now and again. So you have the E, the A, the B7th as well. And when we get into the chorus, we're in an A, and you'll see how Glenn is actually playing his A. Sometimes when he changes from his E over to his A, he's playing it with the second finger, third finger, and little finger, leaving that first finger free to then allow him to get to that E more easily. Kind of like that. And as we then get into the chorus, we're in A again, E, A, and here it's really low in the mix, but you can see that Glenn is just barring his first finger and placing his thumb over the top of the guitar, so it means that we've got this G flat minor 7th shape, like that, and then he gets back into his B7th, and then we've got this little lead up, which is our E and our G flat minor. But the way that Glenn plays this is really interesting because he's stretching across, and you can look out for this in the video. He's stretching across with his second and third finger, and then using his first finger up at the top there in order to get the rest of the chord. And he's playing it like that, but I would tend to just play it with the thumb over the bottom of the guitar. He might be just leaving out that root note, and that's why he's using the second finger and the third finger. But we've got the E, G flat minor, into the A, and then into the B7th again. And that's it for your chorus. And you might want to, when you're ascending there, it is really tempting to continue that chord progression up to a B here. You can even leave that B string open if you want to, instead of that B7th, but that's up to you. But in this performance, Glenn's always going to that B7th shape if you want to play it really accurately, as it is in this live performance and the way that Glenn plays it. So, getting into the vocals and what we've got going on here, because we have these three separate vocals that are harmonizing with each other. But the interesting thing about it is the way that the range is being used. So let me just get the guys up on screen again, just to have them in the picture, because I want to get the piano up on screen as well. So what we've got here is a visual representation, and as you can see, I've been on Photoshop again, coloring things in, because I have to look over here in order to see the piano, and hopefully you guys can see this little arrow that I've got on screen here as well. So with the green notes, this is the lead vocal. So these are the notes that Glenn is going to be singing, and as we can see, we're going to be in and around our C4 and the B3 and down to the A3 as well. We go down as far as the A flat 3, and if you're looking at this piano and all of these notes that are being used, you can see that we do span that octave that I refer to in so many other videos about going on a journey. But the difference is here, we've got three voices that are collectively getting from the lowest note to the highest note, that octave further away, but they're using each other's voices to get there. So it's not Glenn's voice that's going all the way up to the top. Glenn takes it up to a certain point. And then by the time we get up to our D4 here, and as we can see our E4, this is where we have Bernie taking over on backing vocals in order to harmonize with what Glenn's singing. So there's a definite cutoff between the ranges and the way that they blend their voices. Let me just mention that as well, because they are so soft with their vocal, even when we get up to these really high notes. This is at the top end of the male tenor range, and hopefully you should be able to see the ranges that I've written on here as well, because you'll see that the male tenor range gets up to A4, and it does go higher, but you'll see it just classed as A4 for guys in terms of where it's really maxing out. And we have had before this male tenor high C that I've mentioned, and you can see that here Randy is only one note away from that male tenor high C, that holy grail in classical music, and classical singing. So it is right up there. And the important thing to mention is that when guys are singing up this high, it can be a really forced sound because they're forcing their voice to try and get up that high, and sometimes they do vocal damage. And what we've got here is just great technique from Randy, but all of the guys, because they are all singing what sounds like in an easy range. Like I said, it's really is how it sounds with the title of the song. It sounds like three guys just relaxing and singing well within their comfort zone. But when we analyze the notes that are going on, certainly in Randy's case, we've got some real tenor range stuff going on here. So these are really high notes. The important thing to mention as well is that all of these notes that are being sung are all being sung together. So you get a human instrument. It's a human chord that you're effectively hearing, and because it is blended so well together and they're not forcing their voices, imagine if Randy, when he's trying to get up to that B4, that he really starts to try and force his voice, he'll be louder than the other two vocalists, which means it won't blend. So this is what's really important to understand about the vocals, is not only are they really managing their vocal dynamically, but it's having the technique in order to be able to hit these notes, especially up high, without having to shout and sound like you're shouting. So it's just a great job all round, and we know that Eagles vocally are just such a strong band and had so many different places they could go because of the different ranges that they had. And I'm not even mentioning Don Henley yet, but when you then throw his voice into the mix as well, just a luxury to have so many great vocalists in the same band. And this is one of those compositions that really does highlight the vocal ability, but also the fact that they are blending their voices together, and the lead vocal, the main vocal from Glenn, is down here. We're pretty much going to be in our comfortable baritone range. If you wanted to class it as being at the top end of the bass range, then you could do. And then when you flip over to Bernie's vocals, we're now at the top end of the baritone range. And then when we get into Randy's vocals, we're at the top end of the tenor range. So you can see how when you compare the voices like that, each of them sit at the top end of a different vocal register. So when you blend it together, they're all adding something rather than all three of them singing in the same vocal register, because that means that when I say vocal register, I really mean in vocal ranges and the pitch that they're singing. Because if they were all singing in that baritone, mid-baritone to high bari range, they're all singing the same notes, so it wouldn't have the same effect. You want to try and max out the amount of chord effectively that you're getting from the vocalist, and here we get a great example of that in a live setting. Let me just throw that in there, that this is totally live, perfectly played, and the tempo's spot on, and from the counting you can hear that on the hi-hat to make sure it all starts perfectly, and they just maintain it all the way through. we are going to be jumping back into the performance, and then at the end we'll have a little look at the lead guitar, but also I want to explain about the B bender and why it is so important in the overall sound of this song. But without further ado, let me take the piano off the screen so that we can see everything going on, and let's get back into it.
I get this feeling I may know you as a lover and a friend. This voice keeps whispering in my other ear, tells me I may never see you again. I get a peaceful like I'm already standing. Yes, I'm already standing on the ground. I get a peaceful.
And there we have it. And just a couple of things to mention about the vocals again. The way that the oohs are so on pitch, but also they really do change the dynamics of those oohs in order to keep them even more in the background than the main harmony vocals that they're singing. And another thing just to quickly mention about the vocals, just to finish with, I'm going to get the piano up on screen as well, because the reason that this sounds peaceful and easy and very easy to listen to is because when we're looking at the voices independently, they're not going really far in terms of the range, their start point and their end point. Normally, if you're listening to a lead vocalist and that one vocalist is covering the octave or over an octave, it's going to be a lot more dramatic because you're just listening to that one voice and the journey has gone a very long way. But in this song, we have the three vocals that all come in at the same point. So they never really go on a really long journey vocally. You always stay in the same place. And this is really where we look at the lead vocal from Glenn, because these green notes here, we never move outside of this range for that lead vocal. So it means that your focus is always in one place and you just get another couple of voices that really do complement that lead vocal. And we're not being taken on a really long journey in terms of the pitch with that lead vocal on its own. And that's why it just sounds like it's just staying in the same place. It's really easy to listen to because those high notes are being dealt with by another vocalist. And when we talk about Randy hitting those notes so cleanly and controlled, and also Bernie so controlled, it's just a great live performance. But let me now talk about the lead guitar and why the B bender is so important. If you don't know what I'm on about and you've never heard of a B bender, It's something on the guitar, which I'm going to rewind it to a point in the video, if I can remember when it was. I think it was about 2 minutes 45, and I'm going to just prime it there so that I'm going to take it back to 2:44 to lead us in a little bit, but I'm going to just leave it there while I explain what it's all about. And on the guitar, the B bender is something that puts more tension on the B string of the guitar. So the B string is that one, and let me just get rid of the stuff on screen so you can see what's happening, because I want to demonstrate as well. When we've got the lead being played, by the way, it's a great blend of technique that Bernie's throwing together here, because we have the hybrid picking as well, and that kind of thing where we've got this and really nice playing. But with the hybrid picking, what he's got on his B string is something at the back of the guitar that is connected through the body, and the string of the B string is fed through your guitar, as it normally would be when you're restringing your guitar, but the B string is fed into another mechanism. And the way that the mechanism works is by pushing down on the neck of the guitar, it's going to apply pressure downwards, and that's going to activate the mechanism, which is going to pull on the B string. It's going to make it a lot more impactful with the tension. It's going to put a lot more tension on the string. The only way that I can demonstrate it, I don't have a B bender on my guitar, and I don't have a guitar that is a B bender, but if I hit the B string here and I push on the string, hopefully you can hear that going up and ascending in pitch. And this is exactly what's happening when the guitar is pushed down. Because if you watch Bernie, and we're going to play the video, look out for it, when the guitar is pushed down, it's all attached to where the strap meets the guitar, and you'll see that he's pushing down on the guitar in order to activate the mechanism to raise the pitch of the B string, and it's going to raise the pitch by a tone. So that is 2 notes. So if I was demonstrating that, we're going like that. So it means that the B string is going to do this, but you're not going to see any bending going on from Bernie because he's pushing down on the neck of the guitar, activating that one B string to be increased in tension, therefore getting that tone change in pitch. But have a little look at him pushing down his guitar, and you won't really notice it unless you're looking out for it. You just think it's a natural movement of playing the guitar, but it's the B bender that he's activating. And there we have it. The first angle was probably the best because you could see him definitely pushing down, then coming back up, pushing down, coming back up, and he would push down, and that's effectively now, because it's engaged, that B bender, it's now effectively a pre-bend. So it means that the note is already that tone higher, which means you can get that really smooth dissension pitch-wise going down, and it is just simulating that classic country sound of the pedal steel guitar, and that's what this is all about. Obviously, you've got to have the technique in order to implement it effectively, and if you're listening out for Bernie's playing throughout this whole song and the solo, it is so well played, so well controlled, but also the implementation of the technique is so good that if you're watching this and you don't play guitar and you don't know about the B bender, the way that it works, you can just appreciate the music, full stop. You're not listening out for the technique of the playing, but once you know what Bernie's doing here, it really takes it to another level because there's so much technique in here just to keep it tasteful, and the way that he throws it all together with the other techniques that he's using with that hybrid picking on the right hand. So there's lots going on in this performance. when you break it down, great bands just make it look so easy so that you can just sit back, relax and appreciate the music. But once you just scratch beneath the surface a little bit with the technique on guitar, it is so good. And by the way, when you do have that B bender on the guitar, by pushing it down, it is set to exactly a tone. So that's going to be 2 notes higher, and it's going to snap directly to that point. Sometimes when you are doing a bend, you might go up too slowly and then too fast, and then you might be flat or you might be too sharp. So the B bender is just going to have that effect of snapping it straight to the note that you want, but getting a really smooth, even ascension, and then that descending note coming down, the descension, coming back down to where you started. That is what the pedal steel guitar does. It's played with a slide. You guys know what it is if you watch this channel for any length of time, and that gradual slide is always smooth, and that's really why it simulates that sound. And you don't even question it because it's so good. You just accept that it sounds country. It just sounds like that because of the technique that Bernie is applying here and the faultless application of that technique. That's why it has that country twang to it, because of Bernie's B bend and the way that he's controlling it so expertly throughout the whole performance. But we are going to be calling this live analysis to a close now. I know that the last one went on for quite a while last week, but I want to try and keep these under half an hour so that they can just be treated as the same as the other analysis videos that I do. But thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. And by the way, thank you, Chet, for that $2.99 donation. That is much appreciated. And thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I hope you've enjoyed this live analysis of the Eagles playing live 1973. And if you did, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And you can tune in next Wednesday as well. Wednesday nights is when I do these live versions of the analysis videos, and it's 12 midnight Greenwich Mean Time is when I go live. So hopefully you can join me then, and I just recommend going and watching this video, even just watching it again now, knowing the things that are going on and looking out for the way that Bernie is applying this B bender and the playing, because it just becomes even more impressive on an even deeper level when you really appreciate the amount that is going into this from an artistic perspective as well. But thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!